The Chalnoth ambassador Belos stared at the projected image of Earth, his tentacle-like appendages twitching with disappointment. This is it? This unremarkable ball of dirt and rock is what you call home? He turned to face Brian Phillips, the human marine biologist chosen to represent Earth in this historic first contact. Brian stood his ground, unfazed by the alien's dismissive tone. He'd spent his entire career studying the hidden wonders of Earth's oceans, and he knew the true value of his planet lay beneath the surface. Literally. Ambassador Belos, I assure you there's more to Earth than meets the eye. Perhaps you'd like a closer look? The United Nations Assembly Hall buzzed with tension. Humanity's future hung in the balance of this encounter. The Chalnoth, an advanced spacefaring civilization, had stumbled upon Earth during their galactic explorations. Their initial scans had revealed a planet dominated by large land masses, leading them to conclude it held little worth compared to their own water-rich homeworld. Belos's compound eyes narrowed, focusing on Brian. Very well, human. Show us what makes your world so special. But I warn you, we've seen countless planets across the galaxy. It takes much to impress the Chalnoth. Within hours, Brian found himself guiding a small Chalnoth delegation to a coastal research facility. As they entered the building, he could sense their skepticism. He started small, showing them simple aquarium displays filled with colorful tropical fish and intricate coral formations. The aliens observed with mild interest, but remained unimpressed. Undeterred, Brian led them to larger tanks housing more complex ecosystems. Here they witnessed the delicate dance of symbiotic relationships between various marine species. The Chalnoth's attitude began to shift from boredom to curiosity. This is unexpected, Belos admitted, his tentacles swaying in what Brian interpreted as a sign of interest. But surely these are just isolated pockets of life. Brian smiled. Oh no, Ambassador. We're just getting started. The next phase of the tour involved a submersible expedition to a nearby coral reef. As they descended into the crystal-clear waters, the Chalnoth's earlier dismissiveness gave way to amazement. Schools of fish in every imaginable color darted around them. Massive rays glided gracefully overhead. The aliens pressed against the viewports, their eyes wide with wonder. Incredible, one of the Chalnoth scientists whispered. The biodiversity here rivals anything we've encountered. But Brian wasn't done. He guided the submersible deeper, into the twilight zone where bioluminescent creatures put on a light show that left even the technologically advanced Chalnoth speechless. They marveled at the alien-like forms of deep-sea anglerfish and the ghostly grace of transparent comb jellies. The expedition's final stop was a hydrothermal vent field. Here, in the absence of sunlight, an entire ecosystem thrived on chemosynthesis. The Chalnoth were visibly shaken by this revelation, realizing that life on Earth had found a way to exist in even the most extreme conditions. As they began their ascent, a haunting song echoed through the submersible's hull. Outside, a pod of humpback whales swam past, their massive forms dwarfing the vessel. Belos pressed his face against the glass, transfixed by these gentle giants. In all our travels, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, we've never encountered marine life of this scale and intelligence. We may have severely underestimated your world, Mr. Phillips. Brian nodded, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. Ambassador, what you've seen today is just a fraction of the wonders our oceans hold. Earth may not have as much surface water as your homeworld, but the life within our seas is unparalleled. As they surfaced, news of the Chalnoth's changed perspective was already spreading. Other alien races, previously disinterested in Earth, began to take notice. Humanity's status in the galactic community was about to change dramatically, all thanks to the hidden treasures beneath the waves. The laughter had stopped. Earth, it seemed, would have the last laugh. As the submersible breached the surface, Brian's heart raced with excitement. The Chalnoth's change in perspective was more than he could have hoped for. Ambassador Belos turned to him, his compound eyes reflecting the sunlight. Mr. Phillips, I believe we have much to discuss with your leaders, Belos said, his tentacles twisting in what Brian now recognized as a gesture of respect. Within days, news of Earth's oceanic wonders spread across the galactic community like wildfire. The planet, once dismissed as an unremarkable ball of dirt and rock, suddenly became the focal point of interstellar interest. Alien races from across the galaxy clamored for access to study and potentially exploit Earth's aquatic resources. The United Nations, recognizing the urgent need to protect Earth's interests in this new era of galactic diplomacy, convened an emergency session. After hours of heated debate, they established the Terran Oceanic Protection Agency, TOPA. To Brian's surprise, he was appointed as the agency's director, a testament to his expertise and successful first contact with the Chalnoth. As Brian settled into his new role, he faced an immediate challenge. The Zorlek Confederation, a powerful alliance of aquatic species, demanded unrestricted access to Earth's oceans for research purposes. Their emissary, a female named Krillax, arrived on Earth with an imposing fleet of research vessels that loomed in low orbit, barely disguising their true intentions of resource exploitation. Brian stood at the window of his newly appointed office, watching as Krillax's shuttle descended towards the TOPA headquarters. The Zorlek emissary was a sight to behold. Her body resembled that of an Earth cephalopod, but with iridescent scales and multiple tentacles ending in delicate hand-like appendages. "Director Phillips," Krillax said as she entered the room, her voice a melodious gurgle translated by a device around her neck. "I trust you understand the importance of our mission here on Earth." Brian nodded, keeping his expression neutral. "Of course, Emissary Krillax. We're honored by your interest in our planet's marine ecosystems. However, we must ensure that any research conducted respects Earth's sovereignty and the delicate balance of our oceans." Krillax's tentacles writhed in what Brian interpreted as irritation. "Surely you jest, Director. The Zorlek Confederation has conducted research on countless aquatic worlds. We require unrestricted access to carry out our studies effectively." Brian knew he had to tread carefully. The Zorlek's thinly veiled intentions of exploitation were clear, but Earth couldn't afford to make enemies so soon after joining the galactic community. He needed a strategy to showcase Earth's own capabilities while protecting its interests. An idea struck him. "Emissary, before we discuss access, I'd like to show you something that might interest you. Would you be willing to attend a demonstration of Earth's latest marine technology?" Krillax's eyes narrowed, but curiosity seemed to get the better of her. "Very well, Director. I will humor your request." Over the next few weeks, Brian worked tirelessly with Dr. Marcus Reeves, a brilliant engineer specializing in underwater robotics. Together, they accelerated the development of Project Poseidon, a network of advanced autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, capable of monitoring and protecting vast stretches of ocean. The day of the demonstration arrived, and representatives from various alien races gathered at a coastal launch facility. Brian stood before the assembled crowd, acutely aware of the weight on his shoulders. "Distinguished guests," he began, "today we unveil Project Poseidon, Earth's answer to the challenges of oceanic exploration and conservation." At his signal, a series of sleek biomimetic robots slid into the water. The AUVs moved with unprecedented grace, their forms inspired by Earth's marine life. Some mimicked the powerful strokes of sharks, while others undulated like eels or pulsed like jellyfish. The alien observers watched in rapt attention as live feeds from the AUVs were projected onto large screens. The robots navigated complex underwater terrain with ease, using advanced AI to interact harmlessly with marine life. They collected data on water quality, mapped the ocean floor with pinpoint accuracy, and even demonstrated their ability to clean up pollutants. Krillax's expression shifted from skepticism to grudging admiration as the demonstration progressed. When an AUV gently assisted a trapped sea turtle, freeing it from discarded fishing nets, even the stoic Zorlek emissary couldn't hide her amazement. As the AUVs returned to the launch site, Brian turned to address the crowd once more. "What you've witnessed today is just the beginning. Project Poseidon represents Earth's commitment to responsible stewardship of our oceans. We invite all of you to collaborate with us in this endeavor, to explore and protect the wonders beneath the waves, while respecting the sovereignty of our world." The impact was immediate. Krillax approached Brian, her tentacles moving in a pattern he hadn't seen before. "Director Phillips, it seems we have underestimated your species' capabilities in oceanic matters. The Zorlek Confederation would like to revise our previous demands. Perhaps a more collaborative approach would be mutually beneficial. Brian smiled, relieved that his gambit had paid off. We would be delighted to discuss a partnership, Emissary Krillax. As the alien representatives buzzed with excitement, Ambassador Belos approached Brian. Impressive display, Director. The Chalnoth are eager to maintain our favorable position with Earth. We would be willing to share our own aquatic technologies in exchange for limited research privileges. Brian saw an opportunity to forge a mutually beneficial alliance. That's an intriguing offer, Ambassador. Let's discuss the details. Over the following months, Topa found itself at the center of a whirlwind of diplomatic activity. Brian and his team worked tirelessly to balance the influx of alien interest with the need to protect Earth's marine ecosystems. They initiated a global effort to expand marine protected areas and implemented stricter regulations on oceanic research conducted by both humans and aliens. As Earth's status in the galactic community rose, so did the pressure on Topa. Brian often found himself working late into the night, poring over reports and negotiating treaties. The responsibility was immense, but he felt a sense of pride in safeguarding Earth's aquatic treasures. One evening, as Brian was preparing to leave his office, Dr. Reeves burst in, his face pale with excitement and concern. Director, you need to see this, he said, thrusting a tablet into Brian's hands. The screen showed a complex graph of seismic activity in the Mariana Trench. Brian's brow furrowed as he studied the data. What am I looking at, Marcus? We've detected unusual seismic patterns deep within the trench, Dr. Reeves explained. Initial data suggests the presence of an unknown energy source within the Earth's crust, potentially accessible only through the ocean floor. Brian's mind raced with the implications. If this energy source was as significant as it seemed, it could change everything, not just for Earth, but for the entire galactic community. How many people know about this? Brian asked, his voice low. Just you and me, for now, Dr. Reeves replied. But we won't be able to keep it secret for long. Our alien guests are bound to detect it soon, if they haven't already. Brian nodded, his expression grim. We need to move fast. Assemble a team, our best scientists and engineers. We need to know exactly what we're dealing with before word gets out. As Dr. Reeves hurried out, Brian turned to look out his window at the starry sky. The twinkling lights no longer seemed distant and unreachable, but uncomfortably close. Earth's position had become even more precarious, and he knew that protecting the planet's marine life was now just one part of a much larger challenge. The mysterious energy source beneath the oceans could be a game-changer for humanity, but it also painted a target on Earth's back. As more alien races inevitably turned their attention to this new discovery, each with their own agenda, Brian realized that the true test of Topa and humanity's place in the galactic community was just beginning. The energy readings from the Mariana Trench pulsed on the screen, each spike sending a chill down Brian's spine. He turned to Dr. Reeves, his expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. Marcus, we need to move quickly. Assemble our best team and prepare the DSV Nautilus for immediate deployment. We have to reach that energy source before anyone else does. Within hours, the Nautilus, a state-of-the-art deep-sea exploration vessel, was being prepped for launch. Its sleek, pressure-resistant hull gleamed under the floodlights of the Topa facility. Dr. Reeves supervised the loading of specialized equipment, including advanced drilling apparatus and cutting-edge scanning technology. As dawn broke, Brian stood on the deck of the support ship, watching the Nautilus being lowered into the water. The vessel's powerful engines hummed to life, sending ripples across the surface. But they weren't alone. In the distance, Brian spotted several alien research vessels approaching rapidly. Director Phillips, a voice crackled over the comm. It was Captain Elena Reyes, commander of the Nautilus. We've detected multiple vessels on an intercept course. Zorlek signatures confirmed. Brian's face hardened. Understood, Captain. Proceed with the mission as planned. We can't let them interfere. As the Nautilus began its descent, the alien ships closed in. The Zorlek vessels, sleek and predatory, moved to surround the human expedition. Tension mounted as the depths grew darker, the pressure increasing with each passing minute. Suddenly, a new signal appeared on the radar. A massive ship, its design unmistakably Chalnoth, dropped out of orbit and plunged into the ocean. Ambassador Belos's voice filled the command center. Director Phillips, we received word of your expedition. The Chalnoth Empire offers its full support and protection against any who would impede your research. Brian exhaled in relief. Thank you, Ambassador. Your assistance is most welcome. As the Nautilus plunged deeper into the abyss, the true challenges of the mission became apparent. Massive, grotesque creatures, unlike anything recorded in Earth's marine biology, began to appear in the vessel's floodlights. Their bodies twisted and writhed, clearly agitated by some unseen force. Inside the Nautilus, Dr. Reeves monitored the ship's defensive systems. Captain, we're picking up some highly aggressive bioelectrical signatures. These creatures seem to be reacting to the energy source. Captain Reyes nodded grimly. Understood. Activating countermeasures. The Nautilus's hull crackled with energy, creating a repulsive field that kept the hostile marine life at bay. The alien observers watched in fascination as the human vessel navigated the dangerous waters with unexpected efficiency. As they approached the bottom of the trench, the ship's sensors began to light up. Dr. Reeves leaned forward, his eyes wide with disbelief. Brian, you need to see this. We're picking up readings consistent with artificial structures. The floodlights of the Nautilus illuminated the ocean floor, revealing a sight that took everyone's breath away. Rising from the crushing darkness was a massive, otherworldly complex. Its architecture was unlike anything seen on Earth or any known alien world. Smooth, curved surfaces reflected the light, revealing intricate patterns that pulsed with an inner glow. My God, Brian whispered. It's an outpost, an alien outpost. As the Nautilus carefully maneuvered around the ancient structure, its scanners worked overtime, collecting data on the mysterious facility. Dr. Reeves's voice was filled with awe as he reported his findings. Brian, this structure is millions of years old. It's been here long before human civilization even began. And at its core, there's an energy generator of immense power. It's been running autonomously all this time, causing the seismic disturbances we detected. The implications of this discovery were staggering. Earth had been home to advanced alien technology for millions of years, hidden beneath the waves. As the Nautilus transmitted its findings to the surface, the impact was immediate and far-reaching. Within hours, the news had spread across the globe and into the stars. More alien races began appearing in Earth's orbit, each demanding access to the ancient technology. The United Nations called an emergency session, and Brian found himself standing before world leaders, explaining the gravity of the situation. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his voice steady despite the pressure. What we've discovered in the Mariana Trench changes everything. We're dealing with technology far beyond our current understanding, capable of solving our energy crisis. But it also puts us at the center of a potential interstellar conflict. As debates raged over whether to activate the generator fully or shut it down to prevent conflict, a new crisis emerged. The Zorlek Confederation, frustrated by their inability to access the site, took drastic action. A massive underwater drilling platform appeared above the Mariana Trench, its intent clear and threatening. The Zorlek ultimatum was broadcast on all frequencies. Grant us exclusive access to the alien outpost, or we will destroy it and everything around it. Brian's mind raced as he assessed the situation. The Zorlek's action could spark an interstellar war, with Earth at its center. He turned to Dr. Reeves, tenacity in his eyes. Marcus, it's time to activate Operation Trident. Deploy the Poseidon AUVs and coordinate with our naval forces. We need to form a defensive perimeter around the trench. As the AUVs swarmed into the ocean, creating a network of defense around the ancient outpost, Brian reached out to Earth's alien allies. The Chalnoth responded immediately, their ships moving into position to support the human forces. Amidst the tension, Ambassador Belos approached Brian with a data pad. Director, we've analyzed the Zorlek drilling platform. There's a critical weakness in its propulsion system. This information could be used to neutralize the threat without violence. Brian studied the data, his mind weighing the potential consequences. Using this intelligence could save the outpost and prevent a war, but it might also expose the Chalnoth as the source, jeopardizing Earth's alliance with them. As alarms blared and reports flooded in of the Zorlek platform beginning its descent, Brian stood at the precipice of a decision that would shape the future of Earth and its place in the galactic community. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him as he considered his options. Use the Chalnoth intelligence, attempt last-minute diplomatic negotiations, or prepare for an underwater battle that could have cosmic repercussions. The control room fell silent, all eyes on Brian as he prepared to give the order that would determine the fate of the ancient alien outpost, Earth's oceans, and humanity's standing among the stars. Stars. Brian took a deep breath, his decision crystallizing. "We're using the Chalnoth intelligence," he announced, his voice steady. "Dr. Reeves, initiate Operation Trident. Deploy the Poseidon AUVs and coordinate with our naval forces. We need that defensive perimeter around the trench now." Dr. Reeves nodded, his fingers flying across the control panel. "Understood, Director. Poseidon units are mobilizing." Within minutes, the ocean came alive with activity. Swarms of sleek, autonomous underwater vehicles glided through the depths, their advanced sensors scanning for any sign of threat. Earth's naval vessels moved into position, forming a protective ring around the Mariana Trench. Ambassador Bellos stepped forward, his reptilian features set in a grim expression. "The Chalnoth Empire stands with Earth. Our ships are at your disposal, Director Phillips." Brian nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Ambassador. We'll need all the help we can get." As the defensive forces assembled, the Zorlek drilling platform began its ominous descent. Its massive form cast a shadow over the ancient alien outpost, the threat of destruction looming large. Suddenly, alarms blared across the command center. A technician called out, "Director, we're detecting a new signal. An unidentified ship just dropped out of FTL near Earth's orbit." Brian's eyes narrowed. "Can you identify it?" Dr. Reeves studied the incoming data, his expression shifting from confusion to awe. It's Arctur, sir, a reclusive species known for their advanced technology. They've never shown interest in Earth before." Before Brian could respond, a transmission crackled through the comm systems. A stern, otherworldly voice filled the room. "This is Captain Zex Allah of the Arctur vessel Ancestral Claim. We demand immediate access to the site in your Mariana Trench. The technology there belongs to our forebears." The command center erupted in a flurry of activity. Brian exchanged glances with Dr. Reeves, both recognizing the gravity of this new development. "Patch me through to the Arctur vessel," Brian ordered. Once the connection was established, he spoke clearly and firmly. "Captain Zex Allah, this is Director Brian Phillips of Earth's Terrestrial and Oceanic Protection Agency. We're currently dealing with a volatile situation regarding the site you've mentioned. I propose an immediate summit to discuss this matter peacefully." There was a moment of tense silence before Captain Zex Allah responded. "Agreed. We will meet on the neutral space station orbiting your planet. But be warned, we will not leave without what is rightfully ours." As preparations for the summit began, Dr. Reeves approached Brian with a concerned expression. "Director, the Poseidon AUVs have detected unusual activity around the Zorlek platform. It appears to be reconfiguring." Brian leaned in, studying the holographic display. The massive Zorlek structure was indeed changing, its components shifting and realigning. "What are they doing?" he muttered. Dr. Reeves shook his head. "I'm not certain, but based on these energy readings, it looks like they're turning it into some kind of weapon, a device capable of generating massive underwater shockwaves." Brian's eyebrows furrowed. "They're planning to destroy the outpost if they can't have it. We need to move fast." As Brian prepared to depart for the space station, he turned to Dr. Reeves. "Marcus, I need you to stay here and monitor the situation. If the Zorlek make any aggressive moves, you have full authority to implement our contingency plan. Use the Poseidon AUVs to infiltrate their platform and disable its propulsion system." Dr. Reeves nodded solemnly. "Understood, sir. Good luck up there." The journey to the orbiting space station was tense. Brian found himself in a conference room with representatives from the Zorlek Confederation, the Chalnoth Empire, and the newly arrived Arctur. The atmosphere was charged with mistrust and impossibly strong hostility. Brian stood addressing the gathered delegates. We're here to find a peaceful resolution to the situation in the Mariana Trench. Earth proposes a joint research initiative, allowing controlled access to the site for all interested parties under TAPA's oversight. The Chalnoth ambassador nodded approvingly, while the Arksur captain, Zexala, leaned forward with interest. However, the Zorlek representative, Admiral Kragthor, pounded his fist on the table. "Unacceptable," he snarled. "The Zorlek Confederation will not share this technology with lesser species. It is a weapon, and it belongs to us." As arguments erupted around the table, Brian's communicator buzzed. Dr. Reeves's voice came through, urgent and low. "Director, the Zorlek platform has fully reconfigured. It's charging up for an attack. We're detecting massive energy buildup." Brian's heart raced. He looked up to see Admiral Kragthor smirking, aware that his forces were making their move. "Dr. Reeves," Brian said quietly, "implement the contingency plan, now." In the depths of the Mariana Trench, the Poseidon AUVs sprang into action. Guided by Dr. Reeves's expert commands, they navigated the treacherous waters towards the Zorlek platform. The ocean around them began to churn as the platform generated its first shockwave, the ancient alien outpost trembling under the assault. Back on the space station, chaos erupted as news of the attack spread. Brian stood firm, addressing the delegates. "The Zorlek have made their choice, but we still have a chance to work together to protect not just the outpost, but all our interests." Captain Zex Allah of the Arksur stepped forward. "The technology of our ancestors must not be destroyed. We will share our defensive capabilities with Earth to protect our shared heritage." As alarms blared and diplomats argued, Brian coordinated with Dr. Reeves and the combined forces defending Earth's oceans. The Poseidon AUVs drew closer to their target, ready to disable the Zorlek platform's propulsion system. The fate of Earth's oceans, the ancient alien outpost, and humanity's place in the galactic community hung in the balance. Brian Phillips stood at the center of the storm, his decisions in the coming moments poised to shape the future of not just his planet, but the entire interstellar landscape. "Community." Brian's communicator buzzed urgently. Dr. Reeves's voice crackled through, tense and urgent. "Director, the Zorlek platform has fully reconfigured. It's generating massive shockwaves. The outpost is under attack." Brian's eyes widened as he processed the information. He turned to the assembled delegates, his voice steady but forceful. "The Zorlek have made their move. We need to act now to prevent catastrophe." Admiral Kragthor sneered, revealing sharp teeth. "You are too late, human. The weapon is ours, and we will use it as we see fit." Captain Zexala of the Arksur stood abruptly, his elongated fingers splayed on the table. "This technology belongs to our ancestors. We cannot allow its destruction." He turned to Brian, eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "We will share our defensive capabilities with Earth. Together, we can protect our shared heritage." Brian nodded gratefully, then spoke into his communicator. "Dr. Reeves, initiate Operation Trident. Deploy all available Poseidon AUVs to the platform. Your mission is to disable its propulsion system and power core." "Understood, Director," Reeves replied. "AUVs are en route." In the depths of the Mariana Trench, a swarm of sleek, autonomous underwater vehicles surged through the darkened waters. Their advanced sensors pierced the murky depths, guiding them towards the massive Zorlek platform that loomed ahead like a monstrous sea creature. Dr. Reeves's voice echoed through the Topier command center. "AUVs approaching target, detecting significant energy fluctuations. The platform is generating shock waves at an alarming rate." Brian watched the holographic display, his heart made as he witnessed the underwater chaos unfolding. Massive currents swirled around the platform, threatening to tear it apart. The ancient alien outpost pulsed with an eerie resonant frequency, its structure trembling under the assault. "Status update on our defensive perimeter?" Brian asked, his eyes never leaving the display. A TOPA technician responded, "Earth's naval forces are holding position, sir. The Chalnoth ships have formed a secondary line of defense, but the Zorlek attacks are intensifying." As if on cue, the command center erupted in a cacophony of alarms. The technician's voice rose in pitch. Multiple impacts detected. Zorlek energy weapons are breaching our outer defenses. Brian's mind raced, assessing options and potential outcomes. He turned to the Arksur captain. Zexala, we need your defensive systems online now. Can you provide cover for our forces? The Arksur nodded, his scaled skin shimmering under the harsh lights. It is done. He tapped a series of commands into a device on his wrist. In orbit above Earth, the massive Arksur vessel hummed to life. A shimmering energy field expanded from its hull, enveloping the embattled Earth and Chalnoth ships. The Zorlek attacks splashed harmlessly against the barrier, buying precious time for the operation below. Deep in the ocean, the Poseidon AUVs finally reached the Zorlek platform. Dr. Reeves's voice was tense as he guided them through the treacherous waters. Initiating infiltration sequence. Be advised, the platform's defenses are active and highly aggressive. Brian watched in tense silence as the AUVs expertly maneuvered around energy beams and plasma bursts. Several of the robotic vehicles exploded in brilliant flashes, overwhelmed by the platform's defenses. But the remaining AUVs pressed on, their sophisticated programming adapting in real time to the evolving threat. Suddenly, a new voice crackled through the communication channels. This is Dr. Zel Narath of the Zorlek Science Division. We are attempting to assist your AUVs in shutting down the weapon. Admiral Kragthor's actions will lead to our mutual destruction, if not stopped. Brian exchanged a surprised glance with Ambassador Bellos. Dr. Zelnarath, this is Director Phillips. We appreciate your assistance. Can you provide our AUVs with access codes to the platform's critical systems? Affirmative, Director, the Zorlek scientist replied. Transmitting data now. But hurry, the weapon's energy levels are approaching critical mass. Dr. Reeves's voice cut in, urgent and strained. Director, the AUVs are making progress, but it may not be enough. The energy buildup is accelerating faster than we can counteract it. Brian's mind raced through potential solutions. His gaze fell on a detailed schematic of an experimental deep-sea vessel. Dr. Reeves, prepare the DSV Leviathan for immediate deployment. We need boots on the ground. Sir? Reeves questioned, surprise evident in his voice. You heard me, Doctor. Get Commander Jack Harper suited up and ready to launch. The Leviathan is our failsafe if the AUVs can't complete the job in time. As the orders were relayed, Brian turned back to the assembled delegates. The tension in the room was palpable, with representatives from multiple species watching the unfolding crisis with a mix of fear and anticipation. Admiral Kragthor, his face contorted in a snarl, lunged across the table at Brian. You fool! You'll destroy everything! Ambassador Bellos moved with surprising speed, intercepting the Zorlek before he could reach Brian. The two aliens grappled, a clash of scales and claws that sent other delegates scrambling for safety. Brian stepped back, his hand instinctively reaching for a weapon he didn't carry. But before the situation could escalate further, Captain Zexala's voice cut through the chaos. Enough, the Arksur commander boomed. Your petty squabbles are meaningless in the face of what's unfolding below. He gestured to the holographic display, where the waters around the Mariana Trench had become a maelstrom of conflicting energies. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the image. The ancient alien outpost at the center of the vortex was now pulsing with an intensity that threatened to overwhelm the sensors. Captain Zexala's voice was grim. The outpost is reacting to the Zorlek weapon. If we don't stop this now, the resulting cataclysm will reshape Earth's oceans permanently and possibly destroy the planet itself. Brian's communicator crackled to life once more. Director, this is Commander Harper. The Leviathan is prepped and ready for launch. We're beginning our descent into the trench. Godspeed, Commander, Brian replied, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. You're our last line of defense. If the AUVs fail to disable the weapon, it's up to you to finish the job. As the Leviathan plunged into the depths, Brian found himself at the center of a storm, both literal and figurative. The fate of Earth's oceans, and possibly the planet itself, now rested on the success of Operation Trident. With the combined efforts of the Poseidon AUVs, Commander Harper's Leviathan, and the unexpected alliance with Dr. Zel Narath's rebel Zorlek group, there was still hope. But as the energy levels continued to rise and the underwater chaos intensified, Brian knew that even more drastic measures might be necessary. He steeled himself for the difficult decisions that lay ahead, knowing that the next few moments would determine the future of not just Earth, but the entire galactic community. The command center erupted into a flurry of activity as Operation Trident reached its critical phase. Brian's eyes darted between multiple holographic displays, each showing a different aspect of the unfolding crisis in the Mariana Trench. "Status update on the AUVs," Brian demanded, his voice cutting through the din. Dr. Reeves's face appeared on a nearby screen, his expression taut with concentration. "The Poseidon units are making progress, Director. Thanks to Dr. Zelnarath's assistance, we've managed to penetrate the platform's outer defenses. Several AUVs are now approaching critical junctions in the weapons power distribution network." Brian nodded, a glimmer of hope rising in his chest. "Excellent. And the Leviathan?" "Commander Harper reports they're holding position just outside the turbulence zone," a technician replied, "ready to intervene on your command." Suddenly, alarms blared across the command center. A TOPA analyst called out, "Sir, we're detecting a massive power surge from the Zorlek platform." Brian's heart sank as he watched the energy readings skyrocket on the main display. "What's happening?" Dr. Zelnarath's voice crackled through the comm system, tinged with urgency. "It's Admiral Cragthor. He's overriding the platform's safety protocols, pushing the weapon beyond its design limits. If we don't stop him, the resulting discharge could cause catastrophic damage to the entire region." As if in response to the Zorlek scientist's warning, the holographic representation of the Mariana Trench began to warp and distort. Massive shock waves emanated from the platform, visible as concentric rings of energy that pulsed through the surrounding water. Brian leaned forward, his fingers tightening as he gripped the edge of the command console. "Dr. Reeves, status of the AUVs?" "They're holding, but barely," Reeves replied, his voice strained. "The energy fluctuations are interfering with their navigation systems. We're losing telemetry on several units." Before Brian could respond, another alarm sounded. The ancient alien outpost, previously a silent observer to the conflict, suddenly flared to life on the holographic display. "Director," called out a sensor technician, "we're detecting a low-frequency resonance emanating from the outpost. It's interacting with the Zorlek weapon's energy field." Brian watched in horror as a bubble of superheated water began to form around both the outpost and the Zorlek platform. The water within the bubble roiled and churned, creating a maelstrom of conflicting currents and pressures. "We need to end this now," Brian said, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before him. He activated the comm link to the Leviathan. "Commander Harper, you're clear to engage. Take the Leviathan directly to the heart of the disturbance. We need you to manually disable that weapon if the AUVs can't get the job done." "Understood, Director," Harper's voice replied, calm and professional. "Commencing approach now." On the main display, Brian watched as the sleek form of the DSV Leviathan plunged into the turbulent waters surrounding the Zorlek platform. The advanced vessel's hull gleamed as it navigated through swirling currents and pockets of superheated water, its reinforced structure creaking under the immense pressure. "Dr. Reeves," Brian called out, "coordinate with Commander Harper. I want those AUVs providing whatever support they can." As the Leviathan drew closer to the platform, the AUVs redoubled their efforts. On a secondary display, Brian could see the smaller vehicles swarming around the massive Zorlek construct, probing for weaknesses and exploiting vulnerabilities in its defenses. "We've done it," Dr. Reeves exclaimed suddenly. "The AUVs have managed to disable several key power nodes. The weapon's energy output is fluctuating wildly." The jubilation in the command center was short-lived, however. Admiral Cragthor's face appeared on the main screen, his features contorted with rage and desperation. "You think you've won, humans?" the Zorlek commander snarled. "I'll destroy us all before I let you claim this power for yourselves." With that, the transmission cut out abruptly. "Sir," a technician called out, "we're detecting attempts to manually override the shutdown sequence from within the platform." Brian's mind raced, assessing the situation in split seconds. "Commander Harper," he said into the comm, "you need to act now. Use the Leviathan's manipulator arms to physically remove critical components from the weapon's exterior. We'll hit them from the outside while the AUVs work from within. Copy that, Harper replied. On the display, Brian watched as the Leviathan maneuvered into position alongside the Zorlek platform. With precision born of countless hours of training, Harper extended the vessel's robotic arms, targeting exposed sections of the weapon's superstructure. The next few moments were a blur of activity. Brian watched, heart pounding, as Harper deftly maneuvered the Leviathan's arms, tearing away at the weapon's outer shell. Meanwhile, the AUVs continued their internal assault, guided by the combined expertise of Dr. Reeves and Dr. Zelnarath. Suddenly, a blinding flash lit up the holographic display. The massive energy buildup within the Zorlek platform dissipated in an instant, releasing a shockwave that rocked the entire area. Brian instinctively gripped the console as the command center shook, the vibrations transmitted through the space station structure. As the light faded and the sensors recalibrated, a cheer went up from the top of personnel. The Zorlek weapon had been neutralized. But Brian's relief was short-lived. Even as the weapon powered down, new alarms began to sound. The ancient alien outpost, its resonance fading, showed signs of significant structural damage. Large fissures appeared in the surrounding seafloor, releasing plumes of superheated water and minerals into the ocean. Captain Zexala's voice came through the comm system, urgent and concerned. Director Phillips, our sensors are detecting massive geological disturbances in the area. The seafloor around the Mariana Trench is becoming dangerously unstable. If we don't act quickly, we risk triggering underwater landslides and potential tsunamis that could devastate Earth's coastlines. Brian's mind shifted gears immediately, recognizing that they had traded one crisis for another. Dr. Reeves, he called out, I need you to repurpose the Poseidon AUVs for emergency geological stabilization. Develop new protocols to reinforce weakened areas of the seafloor. As Reeves acknowledged the order and set to work, Brian turned his attention back to the Leviathan. Commander Harper, I want you to remain in the disturbance zone. Use the Leviathan's sensors to collect as much data as you can on the changes occurring in the trench. That information will be crucial for developing a long-term stabilization plan. Understood, Director, Harper replied. We're already picking up some fascinating readings. The geological makeup of the trench seems to be altering at an unprecedented rate. As Brian coordinated the efforts to contain the environmental crisis, he couldn't help but reflect on the broader implications of what had transpired. The defeat of the Zorlek weapon had not only averted a catastrophe, but had also reshaped the political landscape of Earth's interstellar relations. Reports were already coming in of the Zorlek Confederation withdrawing its remaining forces from Earth's vicinity, their unity shattered by Admiral Kragthor's reckless actions. Meanwhile, both the Chalnoth and Arksur representatives were expressing admiration for humanity's handling of the crisis, hinting at the possibility of deeper alliances. Brian knew that the coming days and weeks would be crucial. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but the aftermath presented both challenges and opportunities. As he watched the holographic display, showing the Poseidon AUVs now working to stabilize the seafloor, Brian began formulating a comprehensive plan in his mind. This plan would need to address not only the pressing environmental concerns, but also position humanity as a key player in galactic affairs. Earth's unique expertise in oceanic and aquatic environments, demonstrated so dramatically in the Mariana Trench incident, could become a valuable asset in future interstellar negotiations. The ancient alien outpost, still shrouded in mystery and potential danger, loomed large in Brian's thoughts. As Earth's forces worked to stabilize the region, he knew that unlocking the secrets of this structure would be a top priority. Whatever knowledge or technology it held could be crucial for humanity's future among the stars. As the crisis response continued to unfold, Brian steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The events in the depths of Earth's oceans had forever altered humanity's place in the universe, and he was determined to ensure that they emerged stronger for it. Brian took a deep breath, steadying himself as the immediate crisis in the Mariana Trench subsided. The command center's frantic energy had shifted to a focused grit as TAPA personnel worked to address the aftermath of the conflict. Dr. Reeves, Brian called out, his voice cutting through the hum of activity. "I need a full report on the geological stability of the affected area. We need to move quickly to prevent any secondary disasters." Reeves nodded, his fingers flying across a holographic interface. "I'm compiling the data now, Director. Initial readings suggest we're dealing with significant seafloor instability. The energy discharge from the Zorlek weapon and the ancient outpost has altered the tectonic structure of the region." Brian's mind raced, formulating a plan. "All right, let's initiate Project Neptune. We'll need to deploy an expanded fleet of AUVs based on your Poseidon designs. Can you integrate the ArcSource sensor technology we received last month?" "Absolutely," Reeves replied, a glint of excitement in his eyes. "With those enhancements, we can map the seafloor in unprecedented detail. I'll start the modifications immediately." As Reeves set to work, Brian turned his attention to Commander Harper, who was still piloting the Leviathan through the turbulent waters of the trench. "Jack, I want you to continue your survey of the area. Focus on mapping the changes to the ecosystem. We need to understand the full extent of the environmental impact." "Copy that," Harper's voice crackled through the comm. "We're already picking up some fascinating readings. You won't believe what we're seeing down here, Brian." Over the next few hours, reports flooded in from the Leviathan. Harper's team discovered a series of new hydrothermal vents that had formed in the wake of the energy discharges. These vents were teeming with microbial life unlike anything seen before. Dr. Eric Saunders, TOPA's lead marine ecologist, pored over the data with growing excitement. "Director Phillips," he said, approaching Brian's station, "these new life forms, they're evolving at an unprecedented rate. The potential applications in medicine and biotechnology are staggering." Brian nodded, recognizing both the opportunity and the responsibility this discovery presented. "We'll need to establish a research initiative immediately, but first we have to stabilize the region." As Project Neptune kicked into high gear, Brian received an unexpected communication. Captain Zexala of the ArcSur appeared on the main screen, his reptilian features set in a solemn expression. "Director Phillips," Zexala began, "the ArcSur High Command is impressed by your handling of the crisis. We would like to offer our assistance in your restoration efforts." Brian considered the offer carefully. The ArcSur were known for their advanced technology, and their help could be invaluable. "We appreciate the offer, Captain. What did you have in mind?" "Our engineers have developed techniques for reinforcing unstable planetary crusts. With your permission, we'd like to send a team to work alongside your AUVs." Brian agreed, recognizing the potential for strengthening the Earth-ArcSur alliance. As preparations for the joint operation began, another communication came through. This time, it was from the Chalnoth ambassador. "Director Phillips," the ambassador said, his bioluminescent skin pulsing with excitement, "we've been monitoring the situation closely. Our people have extensive experience in oceanic terraforming. We'd be honored to contribute to the restoration of Earth's marine ecosystems." Brian's mind raced with the possibilities. "Thank you, Ambassador. I think I know just the person to lead a joint human-Chalnoth team." He turned to Dr. Saunders, who had been listening intently. "Eric, how would you like to head up a project to restore the damaged coral reefs and repopulate affected areas?" Saunders' eyes widened. "It would be the opportunity of a lifetime, sir. Count me in." As Project Neptune expanded to incorporate these new allies, Brian found himself at the center of a rapidly evolving political landscape. Earth's innovative approach to oceanic restoration was drawing attention from across the galaxy. One afternoon, as Brian reviewed the latest progress reports, his assistant interrupted with urgent news. "Director, we've just received a communication from the Viridian Collective. They're requesting a meeting to discuss potential collaboration on ocean conservation efforts." Brian raised an eyebrow, intrigued. The Viridians were known for their advanced environmental technologies. "Set up a secure channel. I'll speak with their representative immediately." Moments later, the holographic form of Zira, the Viridian ambassador, appeared before him. Her translucent, plant-like body swayed gently as she spoke. "Director Phillips, the collective has been most impressed by Earth's recent actions. We believe there is much we could learn from each other." As Brian engaged in diplomatic discussions with Zira, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in humanity's accomplishments. However, He knew that with increased galactic attention came new risks. His concerns were validated when an intelligence briefing landed on his desk later that day. The report detailed increased activity from the Kraxan Empire, a notoriously expansionist power known for exploiting resource-rich planets. Brian's lips pursed as he read the analysis. The Kraxan were developing plans to covertly access Earth's marine resources. He knew he had to act fast to protect their planet's newly recognized value. "Dr. Reeves," Brian called out, striding into the research lab, "I need you to accelerate the development of our oceanic defense systems. Work with the Arksur engineers if you have to, but I want a comprehensive early warning system covering all of Earth's oceans." Reeves nodded, already pulling up design schematics. "I've got some ideas involving disguised sensor buoys. We can make them virtually indistinguishable from marine life." As Brian left Reeves to his work, his mind turned to the ancient alien outpost that had played such a crucial role in the recent crisis. The structure remained a tantalizing mystery, one that he knew could not be ignored. He was unsurprised when Captain Zexala requested permission for an Arksur research team to study the site, citing ancestral rights. Brian knew he had to handle this delicately to avoid giving any single race exclusive access to such a potentially powerful resource. After careful consideration, Brian called a meeting with representatives from Earth's various space agencies and key alien allies. "I propose we form an international human-alien research coalition," he announced. "We'll call it the Mariana Research Initiative. Together, we can unlock the secrets of this outpost while ensuring that any discoveries benefit all parties involved." The proposal was met with enthusiastic approval. As Brian began the process of assembling the research team, he received an unexpected message. Dr. Zel Narath, the Zorlek scientist who had aided them during the crisis, was requesting to join the initiative. Brian hesitated only briefly before extending an invitation. Zel Narath's expertise in ancient alien technology could prove invaluable, and her inclusion would serve as a powerful gesture of reconciliation. As the Mariana Research Initiative prepared for its first expedition to the outpost, Brian stood at the observation deck of the Tapa space station, gazing down at the blue marble of Earth below. He knew that the challenges ahead would test humanity in ways they had never been tested before. But as he watched the lights of cities across the globe, he felt a surge of confidence. Earth had faced a crisis and emerged stronger, more united, and with a new place of prominence in the galactic community. Whatever trials lay ahead, Brian was certain that humanity was ready to face them head-on. As Brian gazed at Earth from the Tapa space station, a priority message flashed across his communications panel. He tapped the screen, revealing a holographic projection of an alien entity, the guardian of the ancient outpost. "Director Phillips," the Guardian's resonant voice filled the room. "Your actions during the recent crisis have proven humanity's potential. You are hereby invited to participate in a series of trials to determine your species' readiness to access the outpost's full database." Brian's heart raced. This was the opportunity they had been waiting for. "We accept," he replied without hesitation. Within days, Brian had assembled an elite team for the trials. Commander Jack Harper, Dr. Reeves, and Dr. Eric Saunders formed the core, with Dr. Zel Narath joining as a valuable alien consultant. Their first challenge materialized before them in a shimmering haze, a perfect simulation of Titan's methane oceans. The team found themselves on a vessel eerily similar to the DSV Leviathan, bobbing in a sea of liquid hydrocarbons under an orange sky. "Well, this is familiar," Harper quipped, his hands already moving across the controls with practiced ease. "Let's show them what Earth can do." As Harper navigated through the dense, frigid liquid, Reeves analyzed the environmental data pouring in. "The pressure here is intense," he reported. "We'll need to modify our gear to withstand these conditions long-term." Saunders peered out the viewport, his eyes wide with wonder. "Look at that!" he exclaimed, pointing to a shape moving in the distance. "Is that life?" The team watched in awe as a creature resembling a giant amoeba undulated past their vessel, its membrane pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. "Fascinating," Zel Narath murmured. "It appears to be communicating through light signals." As they explored further, the team encountered increasingly complex challenges. They collected samples of methane-based microorganisms, navigated treacherous hydrocarbon geysers, and even established a temporary research outpost on one of Titan's methane lakes. With each obstacle overcome, Brian felt a swell of pride. Earth's experience with extreme environments was proving invaluable. Just as they were growing accustomed to Titan's alien landscape, the environment shimmered and transformed. The team found themselves plunged into a high-pressure water world, surrounded by an endless expanse of deep blue. "Pressure's off the charts," Reeves announced, his fingers flying over the controls. "This is beyond anything we've encountered, even in the Mariana Trench." Brian turned to his team. "All right, people, we need to design and implement a sustainable underwater habitat. Dr. Reeves, you're taking point on this one." Reeves nodded, already sketching out designs on a holographic interface. "We'll use a modular approach," he explained. "Each section will be reinforced with a nanolattice structure, distributing the pressure evenly." As the team worked tirelessly to construct their habitat, alien observers watched with keen interest. The Earth team's innovative use of materials and their deep understanding of underwater engineering drew murmurs of approval. Days passed as they refined their design, incorporating systems for waste recycling, oxygen generation, and even underwater food production. When the final module clicked into place, a cheer went up from the team. "Impressive," came the Guardian's voice. "You have demonstrated remarkable adaptability and ingenuity." Before they could fully celebrate their success, the environment shifted once again. This time, they found themselves on the shores of an alien world, facing a vast and colorful coral reef stretching to the horizon. "Our next task," Brian announced, reading from a glowing data pad, "is to manage and protect this reef ecosystem." Saunders stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "This is incredible," he breathed, kneeling to examine a pulsating, crystal-like structure at the water's edge. "The biodiversity here is off the charts." As the team began their work, cataloging species and mapping the reef's complex structure, an alarm blared from their monitoring equipment. "We've got a problem," Reeves called out, his voice tense. "There's a massive algal bloom spreading through the southern quadrant of the reef." Saunders frowned, studying the readings. "This isn't natural," he declared. "The growth rate is too high, and the chemical composition is... Wait a minute." He turned to Zelnorath, his expression grim. "Does this look familiar to you?" The Zorlek scientist's eyes widened as she examined the data. "This bears striking similarities to a bioweapon developed by the Kraxan Empire," she hissed. "They must have infiltrated the trials." Brian's mind raced. The Kraxans' attempt at sabotage threatened not just their performance in the trial, but the entire alien ecosystem they were meant to protect. "Dr. Saunders, Dr. Zelnorath," he barked, "I need a solution, and fast. Can we counter this threat?" The two scientists huddled together, their voices low and urgent as they discussed possible approaches. Finally, Saunders looked up, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "We think we've got something," he announced, "a combination of Earth bacteria and Zorlek biotechnology. If we can synthesize it quickly enough, we might be able to neutralize the Kraxan algae and even strengthen the reef against future attacks." Brian nodded decisively. "Do it." As Saunders and Zelnorath worked feverishly to develop their countermeasure, the rest of the team focused on containing the spread of the hostile algae. Harper piloted a swarm of microdrones to create a barrier around the affected area, while Reeves used modified sound waves to slow the algae's growth. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the hum of equipment and the occasional urgent communication. Finally, Saunders emerged from the makeshift lab, holding a vial of shimmering liquid. "It's ready," he announced, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. The team watched with suspenseful pause as the solution was released into the water. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly but surely, the aggressive algae began to recede. In its wake, the coral structures seemed to glow with renewed vitality. "It's working!" Reeves exclaimed, monitoring the reef's vital signs. "The ecosystem is stabilizing and... Wait, look at this. The coral's genetic structure is actually adapting, becoming more resistant to environmental stresses." As the reef recovered, teeming with life once more, the Guardian's voice echoed around them. You have faced sabotage with innovation and cooperation. Your ability to adapt and work alongside other species is truly remarkable. The alien entity paused, as if considering something. You have proven yourselves worthy of a final, unprecedented challenge. You, along with the remaining participants, will be tasked with saving a dying ocean on a distant world. This will require all of your knowledge, technology, and ability to collaborate. Brian looked at his team, seeing the persistence reflected in their eyes. They had come this far, faced challenges beyond imagination. Now they had a chance to prove not just their worth, but the unique value that humanity could bring to the galactic community. We're ready, Brian declared, his voice steady and confident. Let's show the universe what Earth can do. As the environment around them began to shimmer once more, preparing to transport them to their final challenge, Brian felt a surge of anticipation. Whatever lay ahead, he knew that the skills, experience, and teamwork they had honed in Earth's oceans would be their greatest asset. The fate of an alien world, and perhaps humanity's place in the cosmos, now rested in their hands.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.